Hey everyone, this is Nikachu, Merfolk Master and Pro Player, and we are going to try out a second league with Hayashi's list, but now with my adjustments. I'm going to adjust the deck in just a second. This is the original deck. I've played a few leagues with it, and I'll let you know what I think needs to be changed. But before we get into that, we're going to thank our sponsor, the ManaBase.com. ManaBase.com is going to have a huge overhaul on their website, and if you want to check out the latest Pauper content, you go check out Austin Hoy's Pauper Ponderings on the ManaBase.com, your home base for everything Magic the Gathering. And as usual, I'm getting an unlimited number of new patrons. Thank you so much for supporting the channel, supporting Merfolk, and soon supporting Burn, because we got Andrew Day 2 Dryden making Burn content now for the channel. Reception was incredibly positive. If you love Andrew Day 2 Dryden, if you love Burn, if you have friends that love Burn, bring them over to this channel, and Andrew Day 2 Dryden will help you. And of course, if you have friends that love Merfolk, we're going to help you as well. So I would love to thank all the supporting patrons. We've got this week, Juan Carmi. We've got John Goodridge. Thank you very much, Andrew Woodford. Joshua St. Dennis. Isma Delgado. Thank you very much, Mitchell Kerr. Joseph Gamble. Siaki Tuipulatu. Sweet name, but I can't pronounce it. Lucas Pereira. We've got Elias Schluren, Joshua Tominski, and George Schumber. Thank you so much, all of you, for supporting the channel, supporting Magic, loving Merfolk. So let's look at this again. So Hayashi's list, very interesting list. I didn't play too much more. I played, I think, 2 more leagues. I went 3-2-1. I went 4-1 in another one. So this is what I think. Let's start off with what I want changed immediately. Fairy Conclave was terrible. I almost never attacked with this card. I know there was one game against Elves where it actually helped us. It could have theoretically won us the game. I missed a turn where I could swing for lethal with a Coilhelm Commander and a Fairy Conclave. But seriously, this thing lost me so many games because it came into play tapped, and I missed my second land drop because I had these like double Fairy Conclave hands or one land hands with Ether Vial, but it would have been so much more convenient to top deck a random land instead of a damn Fairy Conclave as my second land drop for the turn. So I'm gonna get rid of these. I want to know what it's like playing this deck without them. I understand why they were in the deck in the first place, because Blue-White Control was such a big deck back in spring all the way to winter, and it still is a big deck. But before Field of Ruin was printed, Blue-White Control only had Spreading Seas to deal with manlands, and I am certain that with the combination of Fairy Conclave and Mutavault and Deprive to bring those manlands back to your hand after they had a Spreading Seas on them, the Blue-White Control decks had no damn chance against the manlands. But now with Field of Ruin, they actually have a ton of answers. So they have Spreading Seas, they have Field of Ruin, and it's hard for the manlands to make... It still matters, but it's just losing me too many games to put this stupid thing into play tapped, and it's not so mana efficient even against Jund. I don't know, maybe I needed a lot more reps in against Jund. I played against Jund once and I just got thrashed pretty badly. Deck is not suited very well against Jund. Maybe something needs to be removed for like Kira Great Glassspinner or something. Anyway, I was not a fan of Fairy Conclave overall. It was, like I said, I never attacked with it. Like it never mattered. It never mattered. And it did matter a lot to contribute to all my losses, so I'm scrapping it from this list. One thing I really want though is Gemstone Caverns. Now this is a Gemstone Caverns deck. We have nothing to do on turn 1. We have plenty of things that we want to do on turn 2 immediately. So I really want Gemstone Caverns in here. I know that brings our land count up to 20. But I'm hoping that's going to be fine. Hopefully we don't flood out too much. And for that, I think I'm going to take out a Smuggler's Copter. It's either that or Echoing Truth. So one thing about Smuggler's Copter is that I learned something about Smuggler's Copter playtesting this. Smuggler's Copter is bad on the draw. I think the Smuggler's Copter is just something you want to be siding out on the draw against a lot of aggro decks. And against a lot of those aggro decks, you're going to want to be bringing in Tidebinder Mage anyway, so that is a pretty good, easy swap to make. But yeah, Smuggler's Copter, even more incredibly bad on the draw in a build like this where we don't have anything to play on turn 1. There's no Curse Catcher, so it's impossible to play turn 2 Smuggler's Copter and then expect to block with it. So yeah, Smuggler's Copter, pretty atrocious. Echoing Truth, pretty good. I don't know, should I replace it with... Maybe I should have that 4th Smuggler's Copter. I didn't actually test this thing out. You know what? I'm going to put this 4 Smuggler's Copter. I don't want to go too low on creatures. We have 20 creatures, and with Smuggler's Copter, that brings us to 24. And I know I'm taking out the Fairy Conclave, which did not do anything for me. But I guess this is how I'm going to do it. Echoing Truth, really, pretty fine card right now. Pretty fine card. We can get into that later. Everything else worked out. Okay, Coral Helm Commander actually impressed me because the 3 damage in the air is pretty easy to level up to, and it was pretty relevant. Like it helps you block flying creatures, helps you fly over other creatures, and in a pinch, it just can become a lord if you really want it to. Pump up all the Merfolk and attack for the win. So Coral Helm Commander it impressed me a lot more than I thought it would. So maybe it has some place in the way I'm looking at it is some replacement for Mararegery. Now, Mararegery is nice because it is a form of evasion that you have to sort of turn on. So you play Mararegery, and if you get to untap with the Mararegery, you play creatures to clear the way for your own creatures and then attack for the win. Coral Helm Commander has a very similar effect. So you're going to play him, and you still have to invest some mana, like you do with Mararegery, in order to clear... to cast creatures to get that Regery trigger on. But Coral Helm Commander, you're not actually casting anything. You don't need anything to cast. You just level him up. You spend that mana to level him up, give him flying, and then he attacks for the win. So Coral Helm Commander impressed me quite a bit. Actually, I did like this card quite a lot. Makes me rethink the Mararegery slot in some ways. Because, Mararegery, 3 mana is a big deal. And because you have to take your vial up to 3. And very rarely do you get to untap without, go crazy and empty your hand. It's just good utility. I'm not saying Mararegery is bad, but Coral Helm Commander sort of fit the slot pretty well. It impressed me quite a bit. And the fact that it was 2 mana is very mana efficient in this build because you never have to take the vial up to more than 2 and so on. So, and it made use of random mana that maybe I would never use anyway. So we got that for Coral Helm Commander. Harbinger is great, as usual. Lord of Atlantis, Master of the Pearl Trident, great. Dismember was hit or miss depending on the matchup I was up against. I think it's a necessary evil in this deck because you just have so few things to do with your mana on turn 1. And there are enough mana dork decks that it's good, for example, against red-green pawns and stuff like that. Chalice of the Void if there's one thing I learned about this deck, Chalice of the Void is very well positioned right now. There are enough stupid decks out there that Chalice of the Void hits super, super hard. I just cleanly crush Boggles, Tron, Storm. I think one thing that makes Chalice of the Void a little bit better is that there's less Death Shadow now that people are going towards Jund. I guess it doesn't matter. Chalice of the Void is terrible against Jund, but... I was not super impressed with this card against Death Shadow. They have a lot of answers in the form of Kolaghan's Command, Abrupt Decay, Inquisition, Thoughtseize, Tasker, Gurmag, Angler, Tarmogoyf. They can ignore Chalice of the Void in a lot of ways, or destroy it when they need to. So, those decks are not so much around. It's bad against Jund, though. It is useless. And I also got just crushed by a Merfolk deck. A fan that watches the channel, yeah, thank you for destroying me. I had a hand with Chalice of the Void, and it's totally useless. So the thing is, against the decks where it's bad, yeah, it's going to be super terrible. However, against the decks that are good, it just obliterates them. And I do think there are more decks that are weak to Chalice of the Void, including Hollowed One aggro. I just cleanly destroyed a Hollowed One aggro deck with Chalice of the Void. So I'm very interested in maybe building some form of Merfolk deck. Like, even if I don't settle on M. Hayashi's build and we go back to a Master of Waves deck, I would wonder if we can fit in 4 Chalice of the Void now. Given the and like Infect is coming back, Infect is making a good impression. So yeah, it did. I think Chalice of the Void does what Curse Catcher would want to do, but a lot better, a lot better. This played pretty poorly against Blue-White Control, although I have to say I did win the game anyway because I eventually put a Chalice for 3 on the board to prevent Detention Spheres and Gideon of the Trials, and my opponent signaled to me that it was a good move by playing a Gideon of the Trials into my Chalice of the Void, and that helped me win the game. So yeah, Chalice of the Void, it impressed me in my playtesting. It also made the leagues way shorter by playing with Chalice of the Void, because you play Chalice and the games are over really, really quick. Echoing Truth is just an overall good bounce spell. Yeah, not much to say about Echoing Truth. Echoing Truth is fine, especially with Boggles becoming more popular. It's just another thing to have in our arsenal, in our sideboard. It's very useful. You bounce key auras back to their hand. If they have Daybreak, Coronet, and a Rancor on their hand, on their Boggle, you bounce the Rancor, and then the Daybreak Coronet falls off. It helps also interact. I mean, it's more than... The Boggles now has so many evasive cards, like the thing that gives it flying, and more Spirit Mantles, and more evasion. They have way more evasion than prior lists ever did, so Echoing Truth helps us compete with those things. Deprive worked pretty well, and like I said, it was really good against Blue-White Control, because if they played a Spreading Seas on my Mutavault, I could just Deprive some spell, return the Mutavault back to my hand, and then replay it. So I hit 2 birds with 1 stone. Deprive never, because the curve is pretty low, it was never a liability to put a land back into my hand. And I have enough blue sources in order to cast it relatively well. So yeah, I think we're going to still look at Deprive. Tidebinder Mage would have been good if I played against enough decks that it would have mattered. I did play against one Jund deck, but they just slaughtered me. Unfortunately, this deck doesn't have any resistance. Like, everything's weak to... Like, to beat Jund, you need resistant cards. You need Kira. You need Kopala. You need Master of Waves. You need cards that aren't going to die immediately to removal spells. And we don't have anything like that here. And the fact that we're playing with more artifacts, like Smuggler's Copter, is fine. But the problem is when it goes to the graveyard, it makes Tarmogoyf bigger. And it actually makes it harder for Dismember to become effective. It's easier than ever for Tarmogoyf. When you're playing with more artifacts, it becomes easier for the Tarmogoyf to become a 5/6 creature and get out of range of Dismember. So that's a bit sad. Relic of Progenitus is great. It's just fantastic. Sometimes I bring in like all the Relic of Progenitus and I have all the Chalice of the Voids, and Storm, one of them is resolving. One of them is resolving, then you're going to be in trouble, and you're not going to be happy. So I want to play this again, but this time without the Fairy Conclaves, and this time with the Gemstone Caverns, because I think Gemstone Caverns, this is exactly the type of deck that wants Gemstone Caverns. You pick it up late, just throw it away to Smuggler's Copter, no big deal. And now that I know a little bit more about Smuggler's Copter, I'll side it out on the draw against any decks that are really fast. And let's see what else this can do. Yeah, Chalice of the Void, really powerful card right now. I think it's pretty well positioned. It hits enough decks that I like it. I liked it. I liked it quite a bit. But still, I went 4-1 in a league. I went 3-2 in another league. These are mediocre results. I mean, they're fine, and I can see how M. Hayashi probably did great with this list, because if you run into enough decks that are weak to Chalice of the Void, I mean, you'll just thrash them easily. So I can totally see where a lot of free wins came from. This is totally a free win card. Chalice of the Void is in a position right now where it earns free wins. As you saw in the last league, we won games very easily with Chalice of the Void. All right, so let's try this out again with the adjustments. So we have a hand that is on the surface pretty terrible. You know what? I'm going to look up our opponent. I mean, I don't normally do this, although it's something you are free to do as much as you want. Let's see if our opponent is weak to Chalice of the Void whatsoever. They played Tron as recently as 2017, according to something. And this card is good against Tron. huh? One is asking if I'm going undefeated. Going for that undefeated? No. Going for round 1. I'm going to ship it back. No, it doesn't work. It doesn't work like that. So our opponent's going for an undefeated, though it tries to match. So I don't know exactly how the queuing pairing works, but I think it will try to match people up based on strength and based on score as much as it can, and then if it can't, if no one's available, then they just go to the next best people. I'm gonna mulligan this. We are not even going first, and even against Tron, this might be iffy. This hand's not great either, but we'll keep it. Right, if we're up against Tron, let's put this on top. Yeah, let's hope our opponent is playing Tron. They're not playing Tron. But what are they playing? Flooded Strand. Signaling to us some sort of blue deck. Hopefully not blue-white control. I mean, I'm really tired of playing against blue-white control. One nice thing about this deck is that it wins so quickly. It's blue-white control. So his hand is like real poop right now. Look, these spreading seasons are terrible. Let's start off with Chalice on 1. Cut off... It doesn't even really cut off the cantrips very well because Search for Azcanta is just going to... Search for Azcanta is just going to sift every single turn anyway, so every turn is like a Serum Visions. Chalice of the Void, pretty ineffective in this matchup. Unless you can get it on 3, then it's not too bad. There's the Field of Ruin. That's why, you know, those Fairy Conclaves don't work so well. Geist of Saint Trapped. Okay, so maybe... Well, we're in trouble because of the Geist. We keep drawing lands. Okay, let's see if we can block this Geist. If I can, I will. One thing we can use the Spreading Seasons on is the Search for Azcanta when it flips. So it won't be completely dead. And there's a Celestial Colonnade that we can take care of. There's Detention Sphere. Going to detain our Lord of Atlantis. So the clock is on. Although I must say I'm much happier to play against this tempo deck than to play against an actual blue-white control deck. Games will go faster. So let's start off by Spreading Seizing this. We have a useless Ether Vial. Oops, no. So our opponent, it sounds like they are playing for 5-0 here, so let's try to disappoint them. Jace the Mind Sculptor. Look at this, I'm just getting tempoed out like crazy. Alright, let's get both these guys on the board. We'll even try to level this one up. Do you want to be hilarious? Okay, our opponent like bounces with Jace the Mind Sculptor and then casts another Jace the Mind Sculptor, throwing away the old one, and then bounces again. That'd be a sick play. They threw away Negate. Main deck Negate, huh? Alright, draw some cards, Jace. Go for it. I had a funny game where I did beat a blue-white control deck. They had Jace the Mind Sculptor on the board. And it was all thanks to Coral Helm Commander. Actually, so Coral Helm Commander, very good card in the blue-white control matchup because it can become incredibly big just by itself. and with another Lord on the battlefield, becomes a 5/5 creature when it's at level 4, so Celestial Colonnade can't even chump block it. So not a bad card at all. And yeah, it's just for 2 mana, it can become just a very serious clock. You know, for 2 mana, you have a 2/2 creature here, but for 2 mana, you have a 4/4 creature here. I mean, not exactly 2 mana, it's 6, but in the blue-white control matchups, the extra mana doesn't really matter. Like, what are we going to do with this? What are we going to do with this? We're not going to do anything with it, so we can at least spend it on the Coral Helm Commander. So I was pretty impressed with Coral Helm Commander in this matchup. Return this to my hand and turn permanent. Okay. But why return it to my hand? Why not just tap all creatures, draw? So we go to 2. Which means we need to block the Angel. Actually, is there any way we can win? We need a lot of things to happen, because I need to block... that's a useless card. I need to kill Jace. I need to block the Geist and the Angel. So let's try to represent... Well, we can't even represent Vapor Snag. Guess what I could have done was Spreading Seas something to draw something. I could have drawn... What I could have done was maybe... No, I'm trying to think of how I could like play Spreading Seas, draw a Smuggler's Copter or something. Anyway, we're going to kill the Jace. Truth be told, I would prefer Fairy Conclave right now. Where's my Fairy Conclave now? Here, let's not cast anything, because then I'm dead on board. Truth be told, I think our opponent is going to attack with the Geist and kill us. But by doing this, we sort of represent maybe Echoing Truth. So if I tap the 2 mana here, I'm only gonna have 1 mana up, and my opponent knows that I can't have any tricks because of Chalice of the Void. Because anything that I would play with 1 mana would just get countered by the Chalice. Entreat the Angels. What is going on here? It's another reason why to keep playing. You get to see cards. Like, if you don't resign immediately, you get to see cards from your opponent. So we got to learn something about... We learned something about Entreat the Angels that's in our opponent's deck. So we're going to take out Dismember. It's pretty poor. And by pretty poor, I mean it's terrible. I think we're going to take out Chalice of the Void in this deck. I think our opponent is going to sideboard in a way that's not going to be weak to Chalice of the Void. And their deck is so top-heavy. Like, come on. It had no effect. Bring in Relics. Do you want... Yeah, we're going to bring in the Relics. We're going to bring in all the Deprives, that's for sure. So I have 62 cards. Let's take out 2 Spreading Seas. Maybe we'll take out 3. I'll bring the last Relic in, even though we might be soft. Might get soft to a Stony Silence. I don't mind 1 Spreading Seas. So I just theory crafted against control decks. 1 Spreading Seas not too bad to have against blue-white control. The really crappy thing about Spreading Seas is if you play multiple ones on the battlefield against your opponent, they can just sweep them all away with 1 Detention Sphere. But if you have only 1 Spreading Seas in your deck, then the best that they can do is Detention Sphere 1 Spreading Seas away. And Spreading Seas hits 2 things. It can hit Colonnade, which is like so-so, but it can hit Search for Azcanta, which is really important. So 1 Spreading Seas is okay. You can still side it out. It's not a big deal. I think this is going to be important. Actually, I don't know if it's going to be that important. It helps against Azcanta. It'll help against Snapcaster Mage, but I don't know how many Snapcaster Mages they have. Let's bring in a... This is a Path to Exile deck. Let's take out Gemstone Caverns, because we're going to be on the play. Against Path to Exile decks, you can go down to 19 lands. I suggest it. In fact, we could even cut an island. We can cut more lands. Let's cut more lands. Okay, we go to 18. 18 lands. Bring in Tidebinder Mage. Bring in another Tidebinder Mage. Love Tidebinder Mages. Just extra threats. Just extra threats. Okay, let's submit this. That was pretty good. I was happy overall with everything that happened. We'll keep this. Oh, We're super weak to Stony Silence. Stony Silence will kill us. How are we going to change sideboarding? Do you know what? Maybe I should have kept some Dismembers in, because if our opponent's playing with Geist and this looks like a pure blue-white control deck, they're probably playing with Restoration Angel as well. Like, why wouldn't they? Let's get this Smuggler's Copter on the board. Oh, you're Jeskai? When did that happen? When did that happen? The Jeskai control? Ooh, Coral Commander. So let's play our Silvergill Adept. We'll show Harbinger of the Tides, and let's start the looting process, people. And in the face of open mana, I'm not going to activate Smuggler's Copter. I don't think that is what I want to do. So let's attack. Let's turn these lumps of coal. When I mean lumps of coal, I mean islands. Yeah, we can afford to lose one island. 3 lands look pretty good. We can activate Relic of Progenitus, and we can play something every single turn. Jeskai, did you sideboard in that Sulphur Falls? Don't lie to me. So Search for Azcanta going to have a really hard time going off. What is white, red, and colorless? I can't even imagine. Bonfire for 1. Okay. I definitely didn't see that coming. So we're going to lose the Silvergill Adept, obviously. Echoing Truth is fine. You know, sometimes it's nice to just play this on a Jace the Mind Sculptor. It's hilarious. Do you want? I'm going to hold on to the Harbinger of the Tides because of its potential to be flashed in at end of turn. Let's play a Lord of Atlantis. Or do I want to play Lord of Atlantis? Maybe I just play the Harbinger. Flash is not so important. Let's crew this up. My opponent's going to be tapping out over and over again. I'm going to love that with Smuggler's Copter. I'm going to absolutely love it. Let's keep drawing these cards. Let's dump the Tidebinder Mage. I have a feeling this card's not very good in this matchup. Just have a feeling. I want to keep the Echoing Truth just in case our opponent like flashes in Restoration Angel. I'm not 100% sure what's in this deck. Not 100% sure. Just pretty sure. Opponent dumps a plane. So our opponent is looting. We're looting. We're all getting the cards that we want. The Jace of the Mind Sculptor. Draw 3 cards. Put 2 back. So I'll tell you what. Ooh, we got another Smuggler's Copter. And I bet our opponent put something like Terminus on top of their deck. I bet they did that. I bet they did that. And they're like, this guy's just going to empty his hand, and then we're going to blow him out big time. Oh no, but if I play Smuggler's Copter, it's going to be weak to Detention Sphere. I don't want that to happen. So we don't want that to happen. So what's the best thing to do? Just attack with Smuggler's Copter, kill the Jace, and then do something else? What if it's Bonfire? They can Bonfire for 3? But then they tap out again. Let's just keep playing things. If they... Is it better just to wait 1 turn? Let's wait 1 turn. I'm going to wait 1 turn. I know something bad is about to happen, so why play into it? Why play into it? Let's kill this Jace. I don't want bad things to happen to me. I want bad things to happen to my opponent. Okay, goodbye Jace the Mind Sculptor. Got another Coral Helm Commander, and I value this highly. Let's get rid of... Tough call, tough call. We have just so many good things in this hand. Okay, we'll get rid of a Master of the Pearl Trident. And go. Maybe the best thing was to just get rid of the Smuggler's Copter if our opponent plays into it, whatever. Or another thing I could do was play the Smuggler's Copter, and if our opponent plays Detention Sphere, we have the Echoing Truth. We could go for a huge blowout. And another. Look at the Terminus. You saw it. I could smell that a million years from now. I saw that coming. Knew something bad was going to happen. Yeah, okay, you get rid of my Harbinger of the Tides. That's fine. Didn't even need him. Didn't even need him. How many lands need to be in the graveyard for it to flip? 7? Pfft. Yeah, right. Our opponent has Cryptic Command up. Cryptic Command mana up. It's a bit awkward. But I don't see a good way of going about this except to play right into it. Alright. Our opponent has a lot of mana up, so I am not even going to activate the Smuggler's Copter. And I also don't want to tap out. I want to be able to crack my Relic. I'm not going to level up my Coral-Helm Commander. Telling time. Look at the top 3 cards of your library. Put one of them into your hand. Put one on top of your library and one on the bottom. What is this? A control deck all of a sudden? It's weird. I'm sort of in a situation where maybe I want that 4th land. Another Telling Time. So a lot of cards that don't do actually anything. And just to make note, Telling Time is sort of really poor card selection. You look at the top 3 cards and you have to basically take 2 of those. Only one of them gets to go on the bottom of your library. It's an odd card to have in like a control deck. But I guess it's just a way to activate Search for Azcanta, but like, is that really that big of a deal? Like, really? So this could become a problem. Its miracle cost is 1 white. So you can... Oh no, what's the original card? Like, what if I wanted to know... What if I had Vendilion Click? Like, really? So I think it's white and X? Oh, it's double white and X, so you get 3. That's fine, we've got the Echoing Truth, it's not a big deal. Yeah, this is all fine. No big deal. I'm starting to think that there's no Snapcaster Mage in this deck because there's no spot removal. So I'm going to crack the Relic, because I really want to play 2 things next turn, if I can. Cannot play 2 things next turn. So let's just Echoing Truth all this stuff. And I guess we're going to accrue the Copter. Let's do this again. Let's get back to pounding for 3 damage a turn. I will get rid of one of these lords. I'll get rid of the Lord of Atlantis. Make sure that I have a nice diversified field of things here. The more doubles you have, the more weak you are to Detention Sphere. So Colonnade's online, though. Colonnade is online, so it can block our Smuggler's Copter. So, one thing I've noticed, there's no spot removal. I mean, there are sweepers, but there's no spot removal, so I should be more comfortable just going all out against my opponent. Where's Fairy Conclave now? I could use it. I could use that Fairy Conclave. Colonnade 2, number 2, goes into the bin. I have a feeling we're going to see Stony Silence next game. I have a feeling. Just a feeling. Okay, so there's land number 2. Did I forget to activate this relic last turn? Did I? I might have forgot it. Colonnade can get really big. So can this guy. Trying to figure out if I should play Harbinger of the Tides or not. Like, I could play a land, try to flash it in at end of turn, but maybe not. Maybe the correct thing to do is just play, like, Hardcast Lord of Atlantis, level up Celestial Colonnades. How much does this cost? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So Colonnade can activate. Cancel. Maybe just attack for 3? No, let's just level this guy up. Why not? So my opponent needs literally... No, there's no way. No, there's no way they can actually block the colonnade. Sorry, there's no way they can block and kill this thing. It's impossible. Like, you can activate your colonnade all you want, but it has Island Walk. It flies, but it also has Island Walk. It's a weird flavor thing. Oh no! I got hit by Blessed Alliance, and you're going to gain 4 life. Alright, so we lose the colonnade. And we're going to pass. All right, we are going to pass. Maybe Relic will come in handy. Geist goes to the bin. That's scary. I think I'm going to pass. I'm going to play a Harbinger of the Tides at end of turn. Was it Sphinx's Revelation? That's not good news. Yeah, it is. Wow, I'm surprised they went for this. Not too surprised. We tapped out last turn, so that might have signified that we don't have counter magic. Yeah, we're just going to have to let it resolve. Our opponent's going to have a full grip of cards. We are in a lot of trouble now. I'm definitely losing this game because I'm very unfamiliar with this list. Like, I have no idea what the hell is in this guy's deck. If I know I'm up against a Sphinx's Revelation deck, well, there's not much we could do about it. We don't have that much counter magic. We only have the Chalice of the Voids and the Deprives. But I would make a much better effort of trying to close the game out really, really quickly. Because the long game does not favor us at all, like at all. And especially with how we were choked on mana, it might have been worth it to just throw away 2 cards per like sweeper or something. Oh, Jace the boss. I have beaten control decks, though, from situations like this, believe it or not. Search for Azcanta is a beating, though. Search for Azcanta is just a beating. Okay, let's see if we can get Smuggler's Copter to resolve. It does. So in that case, let's get... Put a Master of the Pearl Trident onto the battlefield, just in case we have to deal with another... what's it called? Okay, so we hit Jace, we'll hit Ninja for 4. And then if we see a Blessed Alliance, I'll sacrifice the Harbinger. Ooh, that's not good. So they gain more life. So they have some spot removal. Just nothing at 1 mana. It's completely... This deck completely ignores our deck. It just completely ignores our deck. And look, here's the Terminus. Perhaps without I mean, when I beat Blue-Eye Control, the Fairy Conclave was not that big of a card anyway. And look, like actually, yeah. So even if I had Fairy Conclave available to me, they have the Field of Ruins here, and that was my major problem. Is that the Blue-Eye Control deck had just so many answers to Fairy Conclave in the form of Spreading Seas and Field of Ruin that there was just not much I could do about it. There was no way to make Fairy Conclave effective. There's Geist. And certainly we are in a lot of trouble. Okay, so how much mana? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So you can activate Colonnade. Colonnade is online. Guess we'll show Coral Helm Commander. I think I shall play said Coral Helm Commander. But this is where, like, I don't know, Cryptic Command might start coming in play or something like that. We lost our Island Walk creatures. But if I were to do this all over again, I'd be a lot more aggressive. I'd be a million times more aggressive. I don't think I would sideboard any differently. But this deck, it doesn't perfectly line up against this because Chalice of the Void is one of our main counter spells, and it's just not a counter spell that interacts with anything here. I mean, and even if you wait to play Chalice of the Void on 2, it shuts off all our 2-drops. So there are some 2-mana spells here. We've got Blessed Alliance, we see Lightning Helix, we see Search for Azcanta. Between Search for Azcanta and Jace the Mind Sculptor, we are losing this. Now, I don't know what my opponent will do. Let's say they attack with Geist of St. Traft. Let's say, in theory, they're going to do this. I would double block the Geist, because if our opponent uses a removal spell in combat, they can't remove both of them, and then the Geist would die. I could even try to activate Smuggler's Copter and block like that. Do a double block. Okay. So let's try this. Let's try to activate Smuggler's Copter. And I'll activate it with the Coral Helm Commander. So I'm expecting a removal spell. But I hope they were not expecting the double block. Mutavault's not bad. Let's throw away Tidebinder Mage. I think I'm going to try to get the second Smuggler's Copter on the board. What the hell is this? Ah, I see. I did not play around that. Alright, so that was a mistake by me. Okay, let's exile everything. I'm pretty convinced that this deck has no Snapcaster Mage. Echoing Truth is not that good here. Could bounce Jace, but that does not seem like something I want to do. I'm going to keep the Harbinger in my hand, and we'll pass. I will just hard cast it next turn and attack with Mutavault and Smuggler's Copter. Maybe there's a chance we deck our opponent. Or we're at 15 life. You gotta Fate Seal us, Jace. You gotta Fate Seal us. You're just drawing cards. Do you have any good way of winning this game? This is a matchup where Tectonic Edge would destroy our opponent. Just destroy. I think they would destroy them. Maybe not. They're not so reliant on red sources, but they are reliant on mana. Like, they need a lot of mana to get going, and if they don't have a lot of mana, then they're in trouble. Okay, so they've agreed now. I gotta win the game, because not winning the game is not helping me. And they also have enough mana that they can attack and block at the same time. Echoing Truth cannot bounce lands, so that sucks. Now I feel like doing something like attacking with Copter, and then Echoing Truthing my Copter back to my hand, just so that I can get this loot in. You know what? We're going to attack the Mutavault too. Here comes off. Wow, a 1-mana spell. Wow. They did exist. Another damn Terminus. I can't do anything about this thing. I know you guys don't like watching me resign prematurely, but I think you can agree that I can resign prematurely here. I have nothing going for me against a Colonnade, a Search for Azcanta, and a Jace the Mind Sculptor. Thank you very much for watching. So, what did we learn from here? This was a bad matchup, that's for sure. Holy crap, that was terrible. Maybe not as bad as I think it is. Maybe we had to be much more aggressive earlier with trying to get through like these Terminuses. I should have put more pressure on our opponent. I don't know what's in this deck. There's very little spot removal. If I knew the list, I would attack my Smuggler's Copter into open mana a little bit more often, and just maybe make sure I attack with 2 creatures to make sure I just play around Blessed Alliance, because there was clearly not much spot removal. There's no Path to Exile. I don't see any Path to Exile, or maybe it was in the deck but they sided them out because of Chalice of the Void. I had to be more aggressive. This was not a matchup where I was going to win the long game. Absolutely not. Hell no. Not a damn chance. And then once I have this much mana, I was just so dead. The Search for Azcanta was just too much. That was too much of a beating. I don't know, maybe I should have bounced that with Echoing Truth or something, but then they just replay it. I forgot about the Smuggler's Copter underneath the Detention Sphere. Maybe that was something that we could bounce with the Echoing Truth. Anyway, so we're going to thank all my patrons supporting me on Patreon. We're also going to thank themanandbase.com for being our sponsor. This has been Nikachu, playing an adaptation of M. Hayashi's List in Modern.